Okay. Hey guys, thank you for everyone who's already here. It's so fun to talk with you guys live. I love this. I love this new format.
Okay. Hey guys, thank you for everyone who's already here. It's so fun to talk with you guys live.
Okay, now we're good. Forgive me while I struggle through these very first shows, trying to get everything technically smooth. I'm Anna Cortez, and you're listening to the It's Not Tarot show. And it's a brand new show. In fact, this is the second episode. And no, it's not tarot. In fact, it's not any kind of oracle or card reading with playing cards you've ever seen before, unless, of course, you're talking about the playing card oracles. It's the code encoded into playing cards, finally decoded, just in time for the future. And today is the May 13th, 2021 episode. And the format of this new show is that we're going to start off with a topic, just have a conversation about something relevant to card reading, cardomancy, divination, something along those lines. And then we're going to progress to the second half, which will be taking live questions for the oracles. And I'll do a layout, give an interpretation for your questions, and the instructions on how to join so that you can ask your question live are at anacortez.com/live. That's ANACORTEZ.com/live. So today's topic is female representation in card history. I think this is a really super fascinating, super relevant topic that is not talked about nearly enough. And last week on this live show, we talked about card history in general. So I wanted to sort of continue on in that line, but hone it into this specific area of card history, which is female representation, which is super, super relevant to us today and how we use cards, the decks that we choose, and some of the historical precedents for the playing card oracle deck. Playing card oracles decks, actually. So before we get into that theme, I want to give you guys a little update on what is happening in Oracle World. Isn't this a great shirt? This is available in the store. It's for sale at Meow Wolf in Santa Fe as well. It's one of my favorite t-shirts. So let's see. As far as what's happening in Oracle World, Meow Wolf has opened back up, and they're selling playing card oracles decks and books again through that outlet, as well as lots of playing card oracles paraphernalia, which has been great news on a lot of levels. So I'm happy about that. The Oracle Alchemy, Art of Transformation in Life and Card Reading book is now for sale in the anacortez.com store, which is a first. Even though it's been out since 2015, it's only been for sale on Amazon as a paperback. And so I'm offering you guys a sweet price over at the online store. And if you want to just dip your toes in a little bit and see what the book is about, you can pick up the ebook on either Amazon or the online store. And I really highly recommend that book. I'm really proud of that book. There's so much in there that applies to card reading as it is relevant and important right now. even more so than when the book was published in 2015. And there's a brand new Oracles deck coming out. This is previously, well, I can't say that it's previously unpublished. It had a very small self-published run back in like 99, the year 1999. Only maybe 100 decks went out there. So super, super rare, but it's going to be published again in a really fun format that I'm not going to divulge quite yet. It'll be here soon enough, and you'll get to check it out for yourself. But that is really exciting. It's a CJ Freeman deck that I'll give you guys a history about more later, but you can look forward to that. And I'm going to check in on YouTube real quick, see if there's any questions going on. You know, if you guys want to ask questions toward the end of this show, I'm asking that you do that through Zoom. So if you want to join this meeting on Zoom, you can listen and watch just like you are now on YouTube. But you'll be in the space where you can ask a question live. And the instructions on how to join the Zoom call are over at anacortez.com/live. So that is the update for now. And so let's get on with our topic for today, which is female representation in card history, right? So where to begin? You know, the playing card oracles, shameless plug here for my own book, has a great history section in the back that was written by my father, who was a deep and profound card scholar. This is his section of the book here, book 2. You know, it's not a necessary section to read in order to understand the playing card oracles and how to, you know, use it and all that. But it's really interesting. He talks a lot about females in cards, and yeah, so I recommend this section of this book. It's one of the best resources that I know of for playing card history. And I like to say this quote of my father's: "There's nothing with such cultural significance we know less about than playing cards." So it's time to get ourselves educated. Playing cards have had a profound impact on our psyche for a very long time as a human race. And the history is fascinating, totally fascinating, very elucidating. So there's a really important date in playing card history. That's 1377. And the reason that's important for females in cards is because this is not only the very first reference we have to the playing cards as we know them today in history, but it's also a reference to the way the deck looked at that time. And it was written by a German monk named Johannes of Basel. It was written in Latin. And in this treatise he wrote down, he was condemning the use of playing cards. And they weren't called playing cards even at that time. He was just describing this deck that was being used for gambling and condemning it for that reason. And he described this deck. We don't have any playing cards from this era from Europe. We just don't, they don't exist, but we know they exist because there are numerous writings in different places. But he describes the deck as having 4 suits with 13 cards in each suit, and a king being the highest numbered card in each suit. He also describes the court cards as a king and his attendant, and a queen and her attendant. He says those are the 4 courts. So there were 4 courts out of the 13 cards, right? No additional cards, but 4 court cards. And that there were 2 males and 2 females. Isn't this fascinating? Right? Isn't this fascinating? And so I think this is profound. And I think females got the raw end of the deal as time passed. I think that playing cards, or the 52 card deck, had freshly come over from the South, you know, Islamic countries, which we talked about in last week's show. And it was in this sort of pristine form of having this balance between male and female. A king and his attendant, right? King and Jack, and a queen and her attendant. Just makes sense. Queen needs an attendant, you know, like a lady in waiting or something like that, or a son and a daughter, that kind of thing. And this harmony is so beautiful and really, really profound for divination. Necessary, I would argue. Absolutely non-negotiable, I would propose. And here's another cool thing about women in history. It's this Cary Visconti deck that is available through US Game Systems. Absolutely gorgeous deck. Early tarot deck from Italy in the 1400s. Arguably the first tarot deck. You know, scholars sort of bat around between whether it was this deck or this deck. Another tarot deck from that same time period, mid 1400s. And there's one other deck that they include in the discussion. But this one, to me, has the leading edge for being the very first tarot deck. And it's just a incredible, gorgeous deck that I love for art purposes and historical, you know, purposes. I think card history, as I've said, is super fascinating. And what I want to show you guys about this deck is so cool. This is why I love this deck, this is why I'm fanatical about this deck. Okay, are you ready? Here's the court for the suit of swords. They look so different. Okay, I think it's the swords. Yeah, suit. Okay, start with the king. Cool, right? Awesome. Next in line, queen. Queen of swords. Next in line, jack, or I don't know, I guess it's the jack or page of swords. I'm not sure what his exact title is, but the younger male. And ta-da, younger female. Female as counterpart to the male. And this would have potentially reflected other decks that were in existence at that time, like the deck referred to by Johannes of Basel in 1377. And then check it out. The courts go on, right? The courts go on. There were more than 13 cards in a suit in this very, very early tarot deck. Check it out. And another female. 6 court cards, 3 male and 3 female in every suit, of course. And then we begin with the pips here. So it's just a gorgeous deck. And here is another historical precedent for the balance of male and female energies in the cards. And I just love these cards. You want to see the next suit with the male and female? Of course you do. Let's just look at it because it's so cool. Okay. This is in the suit of the next suit. They look like swords again. I'm not sure. Let's look at maybe the suit of cups, because I can tell what that is. We'll skip that suit. That looks like another suit of swords. Must be batons or something. Okay, so king, queen, cups. See the big cup in her hand? Cups. Male, female, male, female. And then we hit the pips. And isn't this gorgeous? It's just gorgeous. So yeah, this is a beautiful deck. And so where was I going with all of that? So women have been stripped of my opinion, my take on it, maybe my assumption, I try not to assume things, but it seems to me like females were originally included. Hey, you guys, the 10 is a female number from a numerological standpoint. Come on, odd numbers numerologically are considered male. Even numbers are considered female. So after the 9 in the sequence of pips, the 10 should be a female numbered card. It is a female numbered card. So it would make sense if the person creating the deck was familiar with numerology, and the deck is a numerological masterpiece, if you study it, the 10 would naturally be represented by a female character. It's just, the way it would be. And so you'd have female alternating with male. The next card in sequence would be male, would be a jack, a younger. And as you gain in numbers, the courts become older and they continue to alternate between male and female. It just is in harmony with the natural numerology of what's going on in the deck. So I feel like the 10s were relegated to the pips at some point, dropping the female representation on that card and, making it heavy male. Some decks completely male with the queen gone. And I just feel like it was a way to squish women's power. They wanted to squish women's power. And, you know, these royal families commissioned these decks to put their own likenesses in the cards. So this is very much about power. Then, you know, the royal emblems of these families that commissioned these decks are all over these cards. So it was a power play from start to finish. So this is really, hey, Debbie Ann, I'd have made 10s ladies if I designed a deck. Yes, you would. Clearly very old, gorgeous. Yes, so cool. Night, I think the younger male. Thank you. Yeah, I'm confused about which males are called what in historical decks, but it doesn't matter. So, oh, now let's talk about the playing card oracle decks for a minute in regard to this topic of females in cards. My dad, when he intuited the very first images for cards, this was back in the late 70s, guys. This is when his preliminary sketches were dated, like 78, 79. And he didn't know anything about card history at this point. This was just a self-assigned art project that he gave himself because, you know, he liked assigning himself projects. He was always doing weird stuff like that. He thought ordinary life was completely boring, and he would assign himself things to keep his own interest. And he'd always loved playing cards. You know, as a child, playing cards were often his toys. He would stand them up and walk them around like little soldiers. And he loved cards, so he started painting them. And from the get-go, he made the 10s into ladies. His courts consisted of 4 cards, and it was male, female, or female, male, depending on which direction you're moving, up or down the ladder, all the way through. So, and then when he saw what came out on the canvas, you know, he was surprised. He surprised even himself. And then he started researching the history of playing cards to see if there was any historical precedent for what he had created, because there wasn't a template for that. Nobody was doing that at this point in time in the late 70s. You know, playing card decks for divination were almost unheard of back then in the United States at that time. So I just want to show you guys a little bit in case you're not already familiar, and because I love showing these cards. I love looking at these cards. Doesn't matter how many times. So here's the 10 of clubs, for example. She is a lady. And, you know, I like putting an L on the card instead of a 10, because courts should have titles like that, not numbers. You know, just like the king gets a K, the ladies should have L's. Let's find another lady to look at. And it just creates a harmony, a real true yin and yang in the deck, to have the males balanced with the females. And then your court is balanced between old and young. You have the same number of cards between younger and older. You know, you have 2 older cards and 2 younger cards, and you get a counterpart for the jack, which is really cool. Here's Seraphine, the Lady of Diamonds. This is the self-published version of the Alchemy edition, the Playing Card Oracle Alchemy edition, and this is what is coming out in a brand new version in the fall this year, or maybe the winter, by Schiffer, with a brand new book that goes with these images. Is this not outstanding? Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. How could we live without a lady card? How could we live without this dynamic of younger female energy within the realm in which she represents? You know, let's take this card, for example. Okay, let's do this. This is the younger female card in the realm of hearts, or the element of water, which represents emotion, right? This is the emotional element. And look how different she is from the queen. Here's the queen in the same realm, right? Totally different offering by each of these different females, one older, one younger, you know, each expressing a very different and important aspect of this feeling realm. Something that could never be represented by the Jack or the King. So you'd be missing, you know, this expression by the younger female energy within this realm. And it would just be lacking. And I just don't understand how you can read cards with an overly male court. I just don't get it at all. You'd have to make adjustments, you know, but why not just use a deck that helps you, that brings out what you need in the readings. So yeah, let me go check comments real quick. I love that deck, says Debbie Ann. So glad I have it. Yeah, I'm glad you have it too. I'd like to have seen some jokers in the Oracle deck. There are jokers in the Oracle deck. Are you talking about this deck, Hammer and Tongs? Because this deck has jokers. I don't have them in this because I took them out for card reading, but does this deck, I'm trying to think, does this deck have jokers? Maybe it doesn't. Yeah. Maybe you're referring to this deck. I'm trying to think, I guess it doesn't have jokers. Am I totally off my rocker? I am so having a blip in my brain. Yeah, I guess it doesn't have jokers. And you're right, it would be nice to have some jokers in this deck. But not much I can do about that at this point in time because it's published by US Game Systems. And it's kind of the way it is right now. But in the new deck that's coming out with Schiffer, you'll have jokers. And in the new deck that's being published, that's a surprise still, that will have jokers. So Hammer and Tongue says, oh, I don't think mine does playing card. Yeah. I have so many card images that live in my brain from my father. I can't believe there were no jokers in there. I guess there wasn't. Yeah, I kind of spaced that out. You're right. It's nice to have jokers. You know, I don't use them in my readings too much because I like to work with the calendar, which requires 52 cards that correspond to the 52 weeks of the year. So I like to work within that framework. So I usually take my jokers out, so it doesn't really impact me so much. But it's nice to have them as significators, or if you're going to work with the deck in some other way, It's good too. So yeah, but there'll be jokers in this new deck coming out for sure. There's a male and a female joker in the new deck. So you can look forward to that. So isn't that interesting, you guys, about the females in card history and the whole topic of female representation in cards? You know? What do you think? I think it's super fascinating. I think it's, you know, I don't know how you get along without it, honestly. And I think if you did have a deck without it, you wouldn't be able to make full use of your cards. It would be very difficult. So I like jokers. It gives me some license to use my I like that. Yeah, I agree. And, you know, I like how jokers bring in this dynamic of the fool, you know, the divine trickster, you know, the person who's kind of playing outside the rules of the other cards. Nan, thank you so much. Nan Gross, am I saying your name right? Grossy, Gross? Thank you for teaching. I had no idea. See, it's also interesting. Now you know why I'm hooked on cards, because I just think it's so fascinating, all of this. So, looking at the clock, it seems like a fine time to go into the second half of our show, which is readings live. But you know what? No one is in the Zoom to ask a live question. How am I supposed to manage this? I like taking your questions from the chat, but it's really, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. It's just not the way I would like to take a question, just through these comments that are flying past on my screen. So I don't know what to do. Does anybody want to hop over to the Zoom? You can go to anacortez.com/live, LIVE, and get the meeting ID and the password, and you can jump in. I think it should be that simple. I'd love to take some questions. I would love to show you guys how these cards work, how profound they are. I will wait a little bit, and I'm not going to take questions through the chat this week. It needs to be through the Zoom. So I will wait. And in the meantime, let's check out the regular playing card oracle deck. And this is the one published by US Games. This is the vintage edition, though. This is a little different. It's got a different back design than the US Games Systems edition. And the spread that I like to use for quick readings and for long readings is what I call the 4-card spread. And it's what I used last week and during this live show, and what we'll use for future shows. And if anyone decides to join the Zoom here and ask a question, that's what we'll be using most likely. But the 4-card spread is really awesome because it allows one card to be the emissary, so to speak, or the representative for each of the 4 card realms or the 4 elements, right? Each of the 4 suits, diamonds, clubs, hearts, and spades, represent each of the 4 elements: fire, air, water, and earth, and how they live inside of us, how we experience them personally, as well as how they manifest outside of us. So you get a super rich look at the situation out of just 4 cards. And I talk more about this in the new book that's coming out, about how these 4 cards in a vertical spread are super mystical in a way, and how it's very different from a horizontal type spread, which shows movement in time from past to future. But the vertical movement is like a slice of the present moment. It's like the ladder from earth to heaven and vice versa, and how we experience ourselves on all the 4 levels within the present moment. And it's just deep. It gives a really beautiful look at the multifaceted individual. So hammer and tongs, you got to figure out how to do Zoom. You can get in here, and so you can go on other meetings. Anyway, nobody has joined the Zoom meeting, so I'm going to have to say goodbye to you guys. I really would love to do readings for whoever wants to hop into the Zoom and ask a question. The oracles give such wonderful advice. You know, our spirit helpers on the other side have so much they want to share with us about our own lives. They want us to be happy, and they want us to understand our life situations in these ways that really support us. So I love giving these quick 4-card readings to people. I love sharing them with people. And this is the only way to do it with me at this time. I don't offer private readings right now. So let's get this together for next week, guys. I'll be back here next Thursday at noon. And if you have any questions about how to join the Zoom, or you don't understand it, you know, you can email me at anna@annacortez.com. Thank you, Anna. Can you please repeat your schedule so we can get in the Zoom next time? Yes. And the schedule will always be updated and there for you to see at annacortez.com/live. Oh, sorry, annacortez.com/live. And the schedule right now is these live shows that are on YouTube at Thursday at noon, every Thursday at noon. You're welcome. And I have to go to a wedding, or yay, I get to go to a wedding at the end of the month, the beginning of June, actually. And so there will be one day that schedule is going to be interrupted. But other than that, should be Thursdays at noon. But I will put any schedule exceptions over at the webpage already mentioned so many times. And there's also another live meeting, the Oracle Tide, which happens every new moon. So it's just once a month. And that information is at the same web page. And that is added to YouTube as a recorded play later, but it's not live on YouTube like this one. So I have loved spending time with you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to discuss and share this important and exciting topic in cards. And I love seeing you guys. I love connecting with you guys. Let's keep this up and have a fantastic rest of the week. Hope to see you next time. Noon, okay, it's nearly 8 p.m. here. Okay, cool. I'll work it out. Awesome. Yeah, it's 12:40 in the afternoon right here, right now, so you can calculate that. Okay, guys, Take care. Be good to yourself. Love yourself. I love you. Thanks again. Bye-bye.